Namaskara to all of you and welcome to our next session on the Yogic life.
Namaskara.
So, Namaskara. So, there was a question in the last class about, how do we know that Brahma exists, right? So, Shubham Agni had this question, how do we know that Brahma exists? So, one reply that I gave was that, when you engage in sadhana, through the process of sadhana, you can you can realize Brahma. That is one response. Actually, there's another way that you can understand if Brahma exists or not, and that is, so in physics there are two concepts called as entropy and enthalpy. I think I have covered this in the past, but these are two laws of thermodynamics. The terminology is in physics: entropy and enthalpy. So entropy means randomness, enthalpy means energy, right? So everything in this universe has a natural tendency towards high randomness and low energy, maximum entropy and minimum enthalpy. Entropy means randomness, enthalpy means energy. So the things in this world, they have the tendency towards high randomness and low energy. So this is the tendency of all the things in the universe. So this concept of entropy and enthalpy, they work in these laws actually work in closed systems. Closed systems in the sense a system that we create, right? Where we define how the order should be, right? What we expect from that system, we define that. And so in a closed system, there is somebody who is monitoring the system and who's constantly maintaining that system. So for instance, right, if for instance, if you think about a house, right, a house. So in the house we expect that everything should be in a particular place. The house should be nice and tidy, right? So we have certain rules for the house. The house is a closed system, and we expect that everything should be nice and clean and beautifully arranged, right? So what happens is that, so somebody needs to go in and put in effort to make sure that everything is nicely organized and it's everything is beautifully arranged. So then what happens over a period of time, if nobody is engaged in maintaining the house, then what happens? There is disorderliness in the house. There is dust everywhere, and if you just leave the house like that for some more time, then what happens? There could be insects all over the house. There could be rats going here and there and displacing things. So then now there is a disorder in the house, right? The house is not according to how we expect the house to be, right? There's a disorderliness in the house. It's not nice and beautifully arranged, right? But on the other hand, if somebody comes to the same house and they see that the house is nice and clean and properly arranged, then they would know that somebody has come there and somebody has done the housekeeping, right? Because without doing the housekeeping, the house would have not been in that clean and nice state, right? So when you go and look at the house and you see everything is in properly placed everywhere, there is no dust anywhere, and it's nice and clean, beautifully arranged, right? Then we know that somebody has been there and somebody has been doing the housekeeping, and they're keeping the house clean, right? So but if nobody goes there to the house and maintains the house, then what happens? The things tend to be random. That is the natural state, right? The things are here and there. There is dust all over the place, right? So then we know that there is somebody who comes and maintains the house. Similarly, you take another example like a garden, right? So you have a garden. A garden is a closed system where somebody goes and maintains the garden. They plant the plants in a particular order, and they make sure that there are no weeds, right? And it's nice and clean and tidy, right? Those are all the things that we do to maintain the garden so it looks nice and beautiful, right? So for instance, if you don't go and maintain the garden, let's say for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, then what happens? You see that there are weeds all over the place, and then there are some of the flowers are dried up and they're just hanging there, and it looks very dirty. Then when you look at such a garden, you know that nobody has gone there to maintain the garden. On the other hand, when you go to a garden and it is nice and spick and span and everything is beautifully organized, then somebody has been they're taking care of the garden. So that is a closed system. In a closed system, somebody has to give the energy from outside. So similarly, when you look at the universe, right, we find that things are not randomly happening in the universe. So if you look at the solar system and all the planets, everything is nicely going in an orbit, right? They don't go out and in different planets orbit. They stay in the same orbit. They don't collide into each other, right? The moon stays where it has to be. Everything has its own place. So in the same way, this everything in this nature is highly ordered on the planet Earth itself. So just as a room, if it is nice and clean and if it is well ordered and arranged, then we know that even if there is nobody in the house, we know that somebody has been putting in the effort to keep the room nice and clean. In the same way, when you look at this universe, seeing that in the universe the things are not in the state of maximum entropy, they're not in the state of maximum randomness and minimum energy, but rather they're in the state of minimum randomness and maximum energy. So with that we can understand that everything is extremely well organized, so nothing is colliding against each other. So then we understand that there is an intelligence behind all of this who's taking care of this. If that particular intelligence was not there, then everything would not have been flowing in that particular order, the order that is currently flowing, right? So with that we can understand that the universe has an intelligence behind it. That intelligence is consciousness, Purusha. That consciousness which is guiding this entire universe has no beginning or end. So we can understand like that there is an intelligence which is taking care of this universe. So from that we can understand that there is Brahma, that is, there is an intelligence, there is a buddhi which is taking care of this universe. So that is how we can understand it logically, right? So far what we have been talking about, Shubham Bhagini, is it clear to you?
Yes, Bhagini, it's clear.
Okay, very good. So I think we can move forward from here. So what we have been saying, so we have a new participant, Shweta Bhagini, over here. So Bhagini, we are in the second Karapatram, what is the cosmic entity. So I would encourage you to listen to the prior recordings as well. So I'll just give a brief brief idea about what we're covering over here. So basically what we have been talking all along is that human beings are different from animals. How the human beings are different from animals is that the animals, what is the dharma of animals? The animals, they have the ahara, nidra, bhayam, maitunam. These are the four different things that the animals are engaged in. That is the dharma of animals. So they are satisfied if they get food, if they have sleep, if they have a safe environment, and if they have the opportunity for procreation, then the animals are extremely happy. So when you look at human beings, we also have the four things. Ahara, nidra, bhaya, maitunam is also there in the human beings. We also have the pashu dharma. So then the question is, are we animals? So then we said no, we are not. If we were animals, is it only that we have a little bit more intelligence compared to the animals? So if that is the case, then we would also be in the category of animals. Why should we have a separate category called human beings? So we said that human beings have something more than animals. We have a qualitative difference. We have this desire to seek the infinite entity, right? And we said that is the dharma of human beings. The dharma of human beings, the Manushya dharma, is to seek the infinite entity. Human beings have an infinite desire. We have an infinite desire. So that is the reason we're always like, whatever field it is, whatever field it may be, but we are always constantly running after it because we want more of it. If we have money, we want more of it. If we have 1,000 rupees, we want a lakh rupees. If we have lakh rupees, we want even more than that. So we constantly keep running of a particular thing. So let's say if you have a position, if you have you're a minister of the state, then you want to become the minister of the country, and then finally you want to even go beyond that. Or if you're a poet, you want more and more fame, right? So any area that it may be, but we have this desire which is never ending, right? We want more and more and more, and the only reason for that is we're never satisfied by anything that is finite. So the only thing that can satisfy our infinite desire is that infinite entity. So we said the human dharma is to seek that infinite entity. And in this second Karapatra, we were trying to understand. So if the goal of human beings is to seek the infinite entity, what is that infinite entity? What is that cosmic entity? Is what we are going to be, what we started talking about in this second pravachan. So we said that Brahma exists. The cosmic entity, the Brahma exists. So Brahma is also called as the Bhuma Chaitanya or universal consciousness. So when we talk about Brahma is essentially composed of two. One is the Prakriti and the other is the Purusha. Purusha is known as the Chiti Shakti, and Prakriti is the principle or the unique force of Purusha. So what is the purpose of this Prakriti is that she qualifies the Purusha. Prakriti has three gunas. She is the principle of Purusha. She has three gunas: Sattva guna, Rajoguna and Tamoguna, and she qualifies Purusha. When she qualifies Purusha, this Jagat comes into being. This Paridrishyamanam Jagat comes into being. So she is having this intricate relationship with Purusha. She is having this Avinabhava Sambandha, that you cannot separate the two. They are inseparable, right? Just like fire has this burning property, you can never separate the burning property from the fire. Like that, the Prakriti and Purusha can never be separated. She is the unique force of Prakriti. Prakriti is the unique force of Purusha. So this is what we talked about. And also we said that this both Prakriti and Purusha are very, very subtle, very, very subtle. We cannot understand, we cannot have a perception of Prakriti and Purusha using our senses, our sense organs. They're both they are not Indriya Grahya. They're very, very subtle. They're very subtle. They are shapeless and formless. If they had a form, then we could have been able to see them, but they don't have a form or a shape. They are shapeless. So we said that. And also we said that when the Prakriti influences Purusha, then the mind is created. The mind is created. The mind has three components, right? We said the mind has three components. First, when the Sattva guna of Prakriti influences the consciousness, influences the Purusha, then what happens? The Mahat Tattvam comes into being. Mahat Tattvam is essentially the feeling of I exist, knowledge of I exist, right? So everybody has this feeling of I exist. So that comes due to the influence of Sattva guna of Prakriti on Purusha. So that is the first component of mind. And further moving on, when the Rajoguna of Prakriti influences the Mahat Tattvam, the feeling of I exist, when the Rajoguna influences the Mahat Tattvam, then the Aham Tattvam comes into being. Aham Tattvam is the doer I. So anything that we do, any action that we do, it is the Aham Tattvam that does it. It's the doer I, and it comes into existence due to the influence of the Rajoguna of Prakriti on Mahat Tattvam. And then further moving on, the third component of mind, then the Tamoguna of Prakriti influences the Aham Tattva, then Chitta is created. There is a third component of mind. The Mahat Tattvam, Aham Tattvam and Chitta. Chitta is the done I. So any object in the world, let's say there is a book and I want to see the book. Then what happens? The tanmatras from the book, they are captured by the eyes, and then from there the tanmatras go to the Chitta, which is the movie screen of the mind. Chitta is the movie screen of the mind. The Chitta takes the shape of the object, whatever object in the outside world, whether if it is an object like a book, or if it is a sound, or if it is a taste. So whatever it is, the Chitta takes the shape of that. It becomes the sound or it becomes the taste. So when Chitta takes the shape of that object of our perception, then the Aham Tattva is able to see that. The Aham Tattva is able to see that book on the movie screen of the mind, which is the Chitta. Right? That is how the perception happens. We talked about that, and we said that these three components of the mind, they are not independent. They are dependent on the consciousness. They are dependent on the Purusha. Because if Prakriti did not influence the Purusha, if Prakriti did not influence Purusha, then the mind would not have come into existence. So the mind's existence is dependent on the Purusha. But Purusha is independent. He's not his existence is not dependent on anything else. Purusha is independent, even Prakriti is also independent. So we also said that this the mind has a beginning and an end. Mind has a beginning and end, but the Purusha and Prakriti, they do not have a beginning or they do not have an end. Both of them are Anadi, Ananta Satta. They don't have a beginning or an end, right? So we said that, and then the combined name for Prakriti and Purusha is known as Brahma, right? And we said that both of them are very, very subtle. We cannot understand them. We cannot have a perception of them using our senses. And so can we actually, we said they don't have a beginning, right? The question is, do they have an end? Does Brahma have an end? So if Brahma has an end, then there must be some instrument to measure it. So but because both of them are Prakriti and Purusha are very, very subtle, so we the instrument that is there to measure them should be much subtler than that. So but this universe is made of the Panchabhutas, starting from Akasha, Vayu, Agni, Jala and Kshiti, and all of these are crude objects, crude factors. So it's not possible to measure Brahma, who is very, very subtle, using these crude elements, right? So then in addition to these Panchabhutas, in addition to these rudimental factors, there is also the mind, right? We have a mind. So the question is, can we measure Brahma using the mind? So we said that in order to measure Brahma, can we use the mind? So the mind has the three components. So if at all we could measure Brahma, then it should have to be done by the Aham Tattva, because Aham Tattva is the one that actually does the work, right? If you have to do the measuring of Brahma, then it is Aham Tattva that has to do it, because Mahat Tattva is only the feeling of I, right? Mahat Tattva is not able to do anything. So Mahat Tattva cannot measure Brahma. But the thing is that in between the Brahma and Aham Tattva, there is this Mahat Tattva. So what happens is that when Aham Tattva reverts to Mahat Tattva, then what happens is that there is no Aham Tattva cannot come in contact with Brahma. Therefore, Aham Tattva cannot measure Brahma. So therefore, the Aham Tattva is never able to reach Brahma. In order to reach Brahma, it has to revert to the Mahat Tattva. When it reverts to Mahat Tattva, then Mahat Tattva is not able to do anything. And in that situation, it is not possible to measure Brahma. So therefore, we said that we don't have any instrument by which we can measure Brahma, right? So then also we said that the combined, the Prakriti and Purusha, both of them are non-causal, both of them are independent of each other, but it is we have this Nirguna state where the Purusha is not influenced by Prakriti, and but also we have another state where the Purusha seems to be influenced by Prakriti. How is this even happening, right? So the Prakriti qualifies the Purusha using her gunas, but in the Nirguna state where the Purusha is without the gunas, in that state Prakriti does not seem to influence the Purusha. So how is this possible? There could be two reasons for that. Either Prakriti is asleep, she's asleep, therefore she is not able to influence Purusha, or she is weaker than Purusha, therefore she is not able to bind Purusha. So the first option is not possible, because if Prakriti was asleep, then somebody need to wake her up in order for her to qualify Purusha. But in the Nirguna state, Purusha is not capable of even realizing his own existence. How can he qualify Prakriti? So therefore, it's not possible that Prakriti is asleep. Prakriti is active even in the Nirguna state, but she's not able to qualify Purusha because she is weaker than Purusha. She is weaker than Purusha. Purusha does not permit her to influence him in the Nirguna state. So then how does he influence, how does he get influenced? How does the gunas of Prakriti influence him? So then we have to say that Purusha actually gives permission to Prakriti to influence him. So Purusha, he does the sankalpa. He says, Ekoham Bahusyam. He says, I'm one. I want to become many. And he gives permission to Prakriti. That is when Prakriti starts influencing Purusha, and this whole Jagat comes into being. The Srishti happens. So that is what we have understood so far. So we will move on from there. So the next state, I think we also said that in the state of Brahma, where Purusha is not influenced by Prakriti, that is the state of Nirguna Purusha, non-qualified consciousness. So where the Prakriti is also there, Purusha is also there, but Purusha is without gunas. He does not have any gunas. Prakriti is not able to influence him, and that is called as the Nirguna Purusha. And there is another state where the same Purusha is influenced or qualified by the Prakriti, and that state is called as the Saguna Brahma. Nirguna Brahma and Saguna Brahma. In Nirguna, Gunarahita, without gunas. Saguna, Gunena Saha, with gunas. Gunasahita is Saguna Brahma. So that is what we have seen so far. We can move on from there. So are you able to see my screen?
No, Bhayini.
Oh, not yet. Okay. Let me see. What about now?
Bhagini, just coming.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
coming? Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Chandrasekhar Mohdaya, do you want to take the next paragraph? One second. Yeah, this gives rise to two questions.
Right. Okay. This gives rise to two questions. First, if Nirguna Brahma is the Brahma Swarupa, or the supreme stage of Brahma, then what could be Saguna Brahma? Secondly, if Purusha is more powerful by nature, how could he be influenced and qualified by Prakriti in Saguna Brahma? In other words, the question is how Saguna Brahma came into being. I think this is just, setting up for what you had mentioned about where, if Nirguna Brahma is more powerful if Purusha is more powerful than Prakriti, in that form, he's the Nirguna Brahma, and then when does Prakriti have an opportunity to influence Purusha? So this is setting up for that scenario where how can Saguna Brahma came into being, and as you had suggested, Saguna Brahma comes into being because Purusha decides or desires to be many, that I am one and I want to become many. And that's when the Nirguna Brahma gets influenced or allows Prakriti to influence him.
Yes, Mohdaya.
And
very nicely.
And thereby, turns into Saguna Brahma. A Nirguna Brahma qualified becomes Saguna Brahma.
Yes, Mohdaya. Very good. I'm hearing echo. Not sure. Okay. Thank you, Mohdaya. Very, very nicely said. Thank you so much. Yeah. So, as Mohdaya said, there are two questions which naturally arise, right? If Nirguna Brahma is Brahma Swarupa, that is the natural state of Brahma, then what is this Saguna Brahma? Is this some unnatural state, right? What is the Saguna Brahma? And we know that the Saguna Brahma exists. How do we know the Saguna Brahma exists? Is because we have this Srishti around us. We see the Srishti, this Paridrishyamana Jagat. We can see the Srishti, right? So if that is the case, then Prakriti is somehow weaker than Purusha, and therefore if Prakriti is weaker than Purusha, then how does she even influence Purusha in the Saguna Brahma? How does all this happen? So for that we have to say that it is Purusha had the sankalpa. He had the sankalpa that I want to become many. I'm one. I want to become many. And when he had the sankalpa, that is when he gives him the permission to Prakriti, and Prakriti starts influencing Purusha. Okay. So now let's move on. to say, let's understand how this Saguna Brahma comes into being. Okay, now, Subham Bhagini, do you want to take the next one?
Yes, Bhagini. If it, Bhagini, from it was no?
Yes,
It
yes.
was included.
Nirguna and Saguna are.
Okay. Nirguna and Saguna are only two different states of Brahma. In the Nirguna state, Purusha and Prakriti both exist together, but Prakriti is not able to qualify Purusha. In the Saguna state also, Purusha and Prakriti exist together, but here Prakriti influences and qualifies Purusha. It is because of this difference in this relationship between Purusha and Prakriti that the former is called Nirgun and later is called Sagun. Brahma, Rama asleep and Rama awake only indicate the two different states of existence of the same person. It doesn't mean that they are two different persons. Similarly, Nirguna and Saguna Brahma are two different states of same Brahma. In this paragraph, as they have given the example of Rama sleeping or Rama waking, the same is for Saguna Brahma and Nirguna Brahma. They both are the two states of Brahma. Like Nirguna Brahma is Brahma sleeping and Saguna Brahma is Brahma waked up by the influence of Prakriti. So, or when Brahma is Nirguna, means it's sleeping, then Prakriti is not able to qualify Purusha. So that's only in this paragraph, Bhagini.
Yes, Bhagini, that is the idea. So essentially, so we can have various examples for this, right? So if you take the example of water, right? Water has various forms. It can be ice, it can be in liquid state, it can be in vapor state, it can be ice. So, but these are all, but all of it is the same compound in just different states, right? So just like that, the Nirguna Brahma and Saguna Brahma are two different states of the same Brahma. It does not mean that they're two different persons. So it is this example always we hear is that, you know, a lady who is a wife to her husband, and she's a mother to her children in the house, and when she goes outside, then you know, if she's a doctor, then she's a doctor to her patients. So we cannot say that there are three different persons. It's the same person who is assuming these three different roles. In the same way, the Brahma, the Prakriti and Purusha are you know, they are the same. Two of them are assuming a different role in the Saguna Brahma, and they have a different role in the Nirguna Brahma. So they're just two different states of the same Brahma and not two different persons, right? So that is what it is. So then moving on, Bhagini Pushpalata Bhagini.
Bhagini, Namaskaraha.
Namaskaraha.
It was concluded earlier that Buddhi Tattva comes into being as soon as unit consciousness is qualified by Prakriti. Bhuma Chaitanya, Paramapurusha or cosmic consciousness is only a collective name for an infinite number of unit consciousness. Paramapurusha must also follow the same principles or dharma as unit consciousness. The properties of the two must be the same. The only difference being that the scope of unit consciousness is finite, while that of cosmic consciousness is infinite. This must therefore mean that creation comes into existence as soon as the cosmic consciousness or Paramapurusha is influenced and qualified by Prakriti. The stage where Purusha is qualified by Prakriti is Saguna Brahma. The universe is created because of Saguna Brahma. So this paragraph defines how the defines the Saguna Brahma actually. Now the Buddhi Tattva comes, it says that Buddhi Tattva comes into existence as soon as the unit consciousness is qualified by the Prakriti. That is the Bhuma Chaitanya, the Paramapurusha, the cosmic consciousness is only a collective name for the infinite number of unit consciousness. Paramapurusha must also follow the same, it's seen that the Paramapurusha must also follow the same principles or dharma as unit consciousness. The properties of the two must be the same. Only thing is, where the quality of the unit consciousness is finite, but that of the cosmic consciousness is infinite. This must therefore mean that the creation came into existence as soon as the cosmic consciousness or the Paramapurusha, which is qualified by the Prakriti, comes into existence. That is, the creation comes into existence rather with the help of the cosmic consciousness or the Paramapurusha when influenced by the Prakriti. The stage where the Paramapurusha is influenced by the Prakriti is called Saguna Brahma. So the universe is also created because of Saguna Brahma. So Saguna Brahma is the main reason for the creation of the universe, or shows the existence of Brahma. That's what we can understand.
Yes, Bhagini, nicely said. All of you are understanding properly, and all of you are explaining very well. So yeah, that is the idea, Bhagini. Thank you. So we have the same phenomenon occurring on two levels, right? One is the unit level, and the other is the cosmic level, right? Unit level and cosmic level. So Bhuma means cosmic. Bhuma Chaitanya means cosmic consciousness. So Bhuma is cosmic, and that very phenomenon on the unit level is the unit consciousness. It is called as the Anu, right? So unit consciousness and cosmic consciousness. So we saw earlier in the prior chapter, right, with regard to seeing a book, that we have this entire process that originates out of consciousness being qualified by Prakriti, the Sattva Guna, giving rise to Mahatattva, and thereby giving rise to the I feeling, and that the I feeling that I exist, and then the qualification of that by the Rajoguna, right? So Rajoguna to the Mahatattva, the doer I, and then by Tamoguna, the Chitta, which is the done I, or the movie screen of the mind, where the visual information comes from the I, which is seeing the book, and the Chitta takes the form of the book, and the Aham Tattva sees the book. So all of that we have talked about earlier, and the same process occurs at the cosmic plane as well. Exactly the same process. That is when the gunas are able to do their work, and where the three gunas are of Prakriti are able to do the work on Purusha, and there we get the rising of the Saguna Brahma. The Saguna Brahma has the cosmic mind with the same three components. The same gunas of Prakriti influence Purusha, and we get the Mahat Tattva, Aham Tattva, Chitta, and we get this cosmic mind, and we get the Saguna Brahma, Gunena Sahita Brahma, right? But that Saguna, just in the same way that the unit mind having its three parts, the Saguna Brahma also has these three parts of the mind. By the Sattva Guna, by Rajoguna and Tamoguna, we get sequentially the arising of the Mahatattva, Aham Tattva and Chitta. So that is the Gunanvit Purusha. That is the Gunanvit Purusha. The Purusha is with the Gunas. That is the Saguna Brahma. So Saguna Brahma is exactly, that is at the cosmic level, which is exactly similar to how it is at the unit level. So it's the same phenomenon that is occurring on two levels. One is at the unit level, and the other is at the cosmic level. At the cosmic level, we call it as a Saguna Brahma. So I also said Bhuma means cosmic. Bhuma Man, if I say, that is the cosmic mind. Bhuma Man. Bhuma Chaitanya is cosmic consciousness. Okay, so we can go on to the next one. Chandrasekhar Mohdaya.
Okay, we have to accept the existence of Saguna Brahma as this creation which is formed from, or which comes into being because of Saguna Brahma, can be seen at every moment of one's existence. This also shows that Prakriti influences and qualifies Purusha in Saguna Brahma. There can only be two conditions under which Prakriti might influence Purusha. Either Prakriti in Saguna Brahma is stronger than in Nirguna, or Purusha in Saguna is feebler than Prakriti. Prakriti, we know, is a special principle or unique force. She is present with the same intensity everywhere. She can be compared to any crude energy, for example, electricity. An electric current running through a mile-long wire will measure 440 volts at every point on the wire. The voltage will not be different at different points. Similarly, Prakriti is a unique force, will always be present with the same strength everywhere. The question of her being more powerful in Saguna Brahma does not arise. Purusha in Saguna Brahma must then be weaker than Prakriti, or else he could not be influenced by Prakriti. Purusha is condensed as well as less condensed in the infinite Brahma. The consciousness of the infinite Brahma is not the same everywhere. Prakriti qualifies Purusha, finding him feeble wherever consciousness or Purusha is less condensed, and as a result of this, creation springs forth. Prakriti is helpless and cannot qualify Purusha when consciousness is condensed. Purusha is unqualified there and is called Nirguna Brahma, the unqualified cosmic entity. Again, this paragraph is reiterating and reinforcing what we've been talking about. There again, it's comparing or questioning how Prakriti was able to convert or transform Nirguna Brahma into a Saguna Brahma, and is clarifying that it's not because Prakriti is weaker in one instance and stronger when in the Saguna Brahma scenario and weaker in the Nirguna Brahma scenario. It says that Prakriti has the same strength, or she's the same, like as an example, this paragraph talks about electricity, 440 volt electric line would have 440 volts everywhere at every point in that line. So it's not that the electricity is weaker in one point versus other, or is different at different points on the line. Similar to that, saying Prakriti, irrespective of whether it's Nirguna Brahma or Saguna Brahma scenario, that Prakriti has the same strength, which then leads to where then it's Purusha then is condensed or strong in one instance. When Purusha is strong, then we have Nirguna Brahma, because Prakriti is not able to qualify Purusha. And when Purusha is weak or less condensed, then Prakriti is able to qualify Purusha and thereby creates the whole Saguna Brahma, or the world and the perception that we, the unit consciousness folks, can identify and recognize the Saguna Brahma. And essentially, this is saying that Prakriti is helpless, cannot qualify Purusha in the case when Purusha is condensed or strong, and Prakriti is able to influence or qualify Purusha when Purusha is less condensed. And that's the distinction between Nirguna Brahma and Saguna Brahma, or how Saguna Brahma gets created from Nirguna Brahma. It's like we had said before in another way, that it's Purusha, he desires to be many and thereby becomes weak or less condensed. And Prakriti has the upper hand and qualifies and creates the Saguna Brahma.
Yes, Maurya. Okay. Yeah, that is the idea. Yes, nicely said. Thank you, Maurya. So, yeah, that is the idea. So we, where the stage where Purusha is qualified by Prakriti is called as the Saguna Brahma, right? That is when the universe is created in the Saguna Brahma stage. So in our existence, we can see the world. As we exist, we can see this world, we can see everything, the living beings, everything we can see. So this is exactly the Saguna Brahma stage when the Srishti happens, right? In this stage, the universe is existing and the universe can be felt. That is the Vyaktavastha. Vyaktavastha, where everything is expressed, everything is manifested. So that is the Vyaktavastha. Saguna Brahma is the Vyaktavastha. And the Nirguna Brahma is the Avyakta-avastha, where it is not expressed. Vyaktikaranam is when everything is getting expressed, when the universe is getting expressed, that is the Vyakta-avastha. When in the Nirguna stage, that is the Avyakta-avastha. So when there is no manifestation or expression when there is no manifestation or expression, that is the Nirguna-avastha. And when there is a manifestation or expression, that is the Saguna-avastha. So right, in both the avasthas, Prakriti and Purusha, both of them exist, right? Even in the Nirguna avastha, both Prakriti and Purusha exist. Even in the Saguna avastha, Prakriti and Purusha exist. In the Nirguna avastha, what is the difference between the two avasthas is that in the Nirguna avastha, Prakriti is not able to influence Purusha, right? So Purusha is actually in a Gunatita state, Gunatita, where the gunas are not there, right? It is beyond gunas. The Purusha is beyond the gunas. Therefore, he is called as the Nirguna Purusha or Nirguna state, right? Prakriti is not able to influence the Purusha in the Nirguna state, but in the Saguna state, somehow Prakriti is able to influence the Purusha. That is the Vyaktavastha. So here we are saying that there can only be two conditions under which Prakriti might be able to influence Purusha. Either Prakriti is actually weaker in the Saguna Brahma avastha, right? Or that or we can say that in the Prakriti is actually stronger than Purusha in the Saguna Brahma avastha, and she is weaker than Purusha in the Nirguna Brahma avastha. That is what we can say, and therefore she is not able to influence the Purusha is one possibility, right? Or we can say that in the Nirguna avastha, Purusha is stronger, or in the Saguna Brahma avastha, Purusha is weaker, right? We can say that, right? So that is another possibility. So as we saw here in this paragraph, that just like the force which is there in like the electricity passing through a wire, right? The 440 volts is felt at every point, right? So the Prakriti is present with the same strength everywhere. So if that is the case, then Prakriti is having the same strength both in the Nirguna avastha and in the Saguna avastha. Then how come in one avastha she is able to influence the Purusha and another avastha she is not able to influence the Purusha? So then we have to say that that in the Nirguna Brahma avastha, Purusha does not permit Prakriti to influence him, whereas in the Saguna Brahma avastha, Purusha is allowing Prakriti, he is giving permission to Prakriti to influence him. So that is how we conclude that in the Nirguna avastha, Purusha does not want the Srishti to happen, so he doesn't give the permission to Prakriti, whereas in the Saguna Brahma avastha, he gives that permission to Prakriti because he desires that this world happens. He desires that Ekoham Bahusyam, he takes the sankalpa that let this Srishti happen, and that he gives the permission to the Prakriti, and therefore the Prakriti is able to use her force on the Purusha and create this universe, right? That is how this Saguna Brahma comes into being, right? So even in the Nirguna avastha, Prakriti is very, very active. She's present with the same intensity, she's present with the same intensity even in the Saguna Brahma avastha. In both the avasthas she has the same intensity, right? So just like the electricity running through a wire, right? So she is having the same strength. So we cannot say that Prakriti is stronger or weaker, right, in both of these avasthas. So the only thing we can say is in one avastha Purusha gives the permission, whereas in the other avastha the Purusha does not give the permission, right? So so essentially what we can say is that the Purusha is actually the stronger one, and that is why we say that Shaktihi sa Shivasya Shaktihi. Shakti is Shiva's Shakti. Shiva Shaktyatmakam Brahma. Brahma is comprised of Shiva and Shakti. Shaktihi sa Shivasya Shaktihi. Therefore the control is with the Purusha. So if the Purusha gives the control or he gives the permission, then Prakriti is able to influence, otherwise not, right? So that is how we say that. So the sankalpa is very important. The Purusha's sankalpa is very important. So when the Purusha does the sankalpa that I want to become many, and then he gives in the way for the Prakriti to influence, and when the Prakriti influences or uses her gunas, then what happens, that there is a slight weakness of Purusha and Prakriti influences the Purusha, and then we get this Saguna avastha. In the Nirguna avastha, Purusha is not having that kind of sankalpa, and therefore the Purusha is stronger than Prakriti, and the gunas don't influence the Purusha, right? So then in the Saguna Brahma avastha, Purusha becomes he becomes guna sahita, right? He becomes guna sahita. So essentially these two avasthas are of the same Brahma, right? It's the same Brahma in two different states. So the consciousness of the infinite Brahma is not same everywhere. The consciousness of the infinite Brahma, in a sense, it is very condensed in the Nirguna avastha and is less condensed in the Saguna avastha. Therefore in the Nirguna avastha she is not able to qualify him, whereas in the Saguna avastha she is able to qualify Purusha. So that is what this is. So when she qualifies this Purusha, when she qualifies the Purusha, you have the Vyakta avastha, the manifestation happens, everything in this Paridrishyamanam Jagat, everything happens, right? So that is what is being explained over here in this paragraph. Any questions so far? Okay, so we can actually move on. So Shubham Bhagini, do you want to read the next paragraph?
Yes, Bhagini. Brahma is infinite and its supreme state is Nirguna. Wherever the infinite Purusha consciousness in Nirguna Brahma is less condensed, he is influenced by Prakriti and we find Sagun Brahma. Surely then Saguna Brahma is within Nirguna. Aham Tattva is like a huge iceberg in an ocean. Due to imbalance in climatic condition, a part of the ocean gets frozen into an iceberg, but the rest of water remains in its original state. In the same way, wherever owing to the influence of Prakriti over Purusha, he is less condensed in Nirgun Brahma, he is qualified and becomes Sagun Brahma, but the rest remains Nirguna. Saguna Brahma therefore is within Nirguna Brahma. So here in this paragraph they are given an example of an iceberg in water. When due to climatic condition some water get froze, the frozen part is called Saguna Brahma, and the rest of part, that rest water that in its original state is called Saguna Brahma. So they are saying that they both are living like together, they are together, but due to influence of climatic condition, here climatic conditions are like Prakriti. When Prakriti acts, then Saguna Brahma creates from Nirguna Brahma, the same way that iceberg created from water, and the Saguna Brahma is also within Nirguna Brahma.
Yes, Bhagini, nicely said. Thank you. So I'll just clarify a few things over here. So when we say Brahma is infinite, and its supreme state is nirguna. So that is the baseline. That is the natural state. The natural state is Shuddha Purusha or the Nirguna. Nirguna state is the natural state. So you can imagine that as an ocean of consciousness. You can imagine it as an ocean, as is described in this paragraph, an ocean of Nirguna, an unqualified consciousness, right? And with the terms more and less condensed, when we say these terms more or less condensed, these are again just devices for us to understand using our intellect, right? Which is Brahma is basically manasatit. He's beyond the mind, right? Which is beyond the mind. So these terms, this condensed and less condensed, and these are all the terms we use for our intellect to give us a structure, for getting just getting an idea about what is going on over here. And so this more or less condensed refers to not to the relationship between Purusha and Prakriti, but to different states of Purusha in the Nirguna state. This is just for understanding. So these are all ways for us to understand, to describe using language, because this is all beyond language. The Brahma is beyond language. So where Nirguna Brahma is less condensed, it is influenced by Prakriti. You can say where he gives permission, where it is less condensed. These are various words that we can use. When you say less condensed, that means he gives permission. Purusha gives permission, but it is not that Prakriti is more or less condensed than Purusha. The term is that where Purusha is more condensed or less condensed, right? It's not about Prakriti, it is about Purusha, right? Purusha, where Purusha gives permission, where he does not give permission. If Purusha gives permission, then we can say he is less condensed. Where he does not give permission, it is more condensed. So we have this ocean of consciousness, and there are pockets of the ocean where Purusha gives the permission to Prakriti and this Srishti happens, and there are pockets where he does not give permission and he stays in the Nirguna state, right? So where Purusha is less condensed, Prakriti is essentially getting permission to do her work, right? Which is to create this universe. And when she does that work, then we see the formation of, due to the qualifying aspects of the Sattva Guna, Rajo Guna, Tamo Guna, then that water gets frozen. That is when the Srishti happens. So it gets more and more unqualified. The Purusha becomes more and more Gunanvit. So this is just a comparison or an upama. We are using the analogy of water. So we are saying that it is like having ice forming in the water. Okay? So that is actually the basic idea. It's the same ocean of consciousness. In some places, Purusha gives the permission and you have this Jagat. Where he does not give the permission, then the Purusha is in the Nirguna state. So essentially the Saguna Brahma is within the Nirguna Brahma. So this Nirguna Brahma is the Anadi Ananta Satta, which is a very huge ocean of consciousness, and the Saguna Brahma Srishti is within that Nirguna Brahma, right? So that we have to understand. It is not like we have two separate Brahmas. One is Saguna Brahma and Nirguna Brahma. It's not like two separate. It's the same ocean, and in that ocean there are pockets where Purusha gives permission and you have the Saguna Brahma, and where he does not give permission you have the Nirguna Brahma. So this Saguna Brahma is within that ocean of consciousness, within that Nirguna, right? So we have given the example of that, like like one mother who has 3 children and she's at home, right? And at home the children call her ma, but call her mother, right, or amma, or whatever they call her. And when she goes out, then she's a doctor at the hospital, and then nobody calls her ma, or nobody calls her mother. There they call her doctor, right? But she is whether a doctor or whether she is ma, she is the same person, right? So this has to be understood very clearly. So it is the Brahma is one, whether in Nirguna state or Saguna state, right? So the Saguna Brahma is within the Nirguna Brahma, within that ocean of consciousness. Okay? So, okay. Okay, we'll take the last paragraph. Pushpalata Bhagini?
Bhagini. Saguna Purusha or qualified consciousness is within Nirguna or non-qualified consciousness where Purusha is qualified by Prakriti, it is called Saguna. We have earlier seen that the supreme state of Brahma or Brahma Swarupa is unqualified consciousness. Saguna Brahma or qualified consciousness is therefore not the supreme state of Brahma Swarupa. Yet it has to be called Brahma as both Purusha and Prakriti are present. What Saguna Brahma can be explained by taking again the example of an iceberg in an ocean. Due to variation in the climatic conditions, some of the water of the ocean changes into an iceberg. If we compare the ocean with Nirguna Brahma, the iceberg may be compared with Saguna Brahma. The ice is comparable to Purusha in Saguna Brahma and the climate which freezes the water to Prakriti. The unfrozen water of the ocean stands for Purusha in Nirguna Brahma. The ice and the unchanged water of the ocean are two different forms of the water only. The only difference being that climate at some places is able to act it into ice, while in other parts of the ocean the climate cannot change it into ice. Ice is only a changed form of water, but we cannot call it water. It has to be accepted as a changed form of water only. Similarly, we cannot call Saguna Brahma as the supreme star of Brahma or Brahma Swarupa. It is only another state of Brahma Swarupa. Hence, the realization of Brahma Swarupa or the supreme state of Brahma, we shall have to know Nirguna Brahma. The mere realization of Saguna Brahma will not lead us to the realization of the supreme state, for it is only another status of the supreme rank. So now this paragraph says that Saguna Brahma is a qualified consciousness and exists within the Nirguna Brahma, which is a non-qualified consciousness, while Purusha is qualified by Prakriti, it is called Saguna, and if it is not qualified, it is the Nirguna Brahma. Both are existing without any qualities. It is Nirguna Brahma. But earlier we have said that Nirguna Brahma is the Brahma Swarupa. Now there are two Brahmas, and we have to call Saguna Brahma also as Brahma Swarupa, but it cannot be called as Brahma Swarupa. Only the Nirguna Brahma is called Saguna Brahma, is called the Brahma Swarupa. Why? Because you see, as in the previous example, the iceberg and the water stays. The quality of the ocean or sea is a water type, but some climatic conditions change the water as ice, but the rest of it remains as it is without getting changed. So the the change portion into ice of water into iceberg is the Saguna Brahma, and it is existence, and it exists only in the water, which remains unchanged by any of the climatic conditions, and thus it is more powerful without getting changed, and that is the Brahma Swarupa, the whole this one. And the concept of changing into an iceberg and staying within that water is qualified as Saguna Brahma. That is where the Prakriti influences the Purusha, and it helps in the creation. See, a creation, an iceberg is created, but water is the full state. So comparing this, we come to know that the Nirguna Brahma is the supreme state, and it is the state of supreme rank, and Saguna Brahma is within the Nirguna Brahma, and it is not a different entity.
Yes, Bhagini, nicely said. Yes, Bhagini, thank you so much. Nicely said. Yes, that is the idea. So we said that the Saguna Brahma is actually within the Nirguna Brahma. right? When Prakriti is able to influence Purusha, when she is able to goodify Purusha, then we have the Saguna Brahma. But the supreme state of Brahma, which is the Brahma Swarupa, is the Nirguna state. That is the supreme state. And the Saguna Brahma is essentially is basically a different state of the same Brahma Swarupa, right? Both in both the states, both Prakriti and Purusha are there, right? They're like two sides of a paper, right? Or two sides of a coin. You can never separate Prakriti and Purusha. You can't say anything is only made of Prakriti or only made of Purusha. Everything you see is made of both of them, right? So here they're actually giving an example of how we can understand this Prakriti with this Saguna Brahma and this Nirguna Brahma. So if you have this ocean of consciousness, which is the Nirguna Brahma, which is the Brahma Samudra of the Nirguna Brahma, then what happens? And if you consider that, you know, due to the impact of the climatic condition, some of the water actually becomes into an iceberg, and we can say that this iceberg is actually the Saguna Brahma. The ice is essentially the Purusha, and the climatic condition is the Prakriti. So in the same Nirguna Purusha, there are some pockets of icebergs where the Purusha is giving permission for the Prakriti, is giving permission for the climatic conditions to influence that water, which is the Purusha, and that's how we have the Saguna Brahma. So wherever we have this ice, we can say that is the Saguna Brahma, where we have the ice, which is the Purusha, and the climatic condition, which is the Prakriti. So that iceberg, which is essentially a modified form of the same water, which is the Purusha. So there Saguna Brahma and Nirguna Brahma are basically the two states of the same Brahma. But the for the goal of human life, when we say that what is the goal of human life, the goal of human life is the realization of this Nirguna Brahma, realization of the good Nirguna Brahma. That is the goal of the human life, right? So when we engage in this Yoganishta Jivanam, so what are we ultimately trying to attain is that when we engage in this process of sadhana, what happens is that when your mind, when your individual mind merges into the cosmic mind, that is what is called as the Savikalpa Samadhi. Savikalpa Samadhi. And when you go to a state when your mind is completely dissolved, when your mind does not exist, that is the state of the Nirvikalpa Samadhi. Nirvikalpa Samadhi. So at the time of death, when if your mind merges into the cosmic mind, which is a Saguna Brahma's mind, then what happens? That is called as the Mukti. That is called as Mukti. And at the time of death, when your mind is completely dissolved into the cosmic consciousness, then essentially you're completely merged, your mind is completely gone, then that is called as the moksha. So the ultimate goal of life is to attain moksha, which is to attain that nirguna state. That is the ultimate goal of life. So that is what this paragraph is saying, that the mere realization of Saguna Brahma will not lead us to realization of the supreme state, right? So our goal is to attain the supreme state, which is to attain the nirguna state. So attaining the Saguna state is also not easy. Attaining mukti is not easy. Attaining mukti is also a very difficult thing. But ultimately the goal of human life is to attain the nirguna avastha, the nirguna state, attain moksha. That is the goal of life. That is what is explained in this paragraph, right? So this comparison with the ice and the climatic condition, this is all for our understanding, to see how this Saguna Brahma is not something separate from the Nirguna Brahma. It is essentially part of this whole ocean of consciousness. So they are two states of the same entity, right? Just like how we said the mother in the house and she's a doctor outside. It's the same mother who is assuming two different roles. It's the same lady who's assuming two different roles. She's called as Ma in one place. She's called as a doctor in the other place. So it is the same entity. So in the similar manner, the Purusha and Prakriti are two entities. They're the same entities, but they're assuming different roles, right? In Saguna Brahma, they have a different role. In Nirguna Brahma, they have a different role. So that is what we need to understand over here. So any questions? Okay. So so we have just one more paragraph which we will take it up in the next class. So any questions so far? Otherwise we can wrap up the session today. Okay, thank you so much. Dhanyavadah. Namaskaraha.
धन्यवादः भगिनी.
धन्यवादः. नमस्कारः.
Namaskaraha.